Hey, how's it going there, folks? Welcome back here. It is the Earth Master on this Sunday, March 10th, 2024. It's about 12:36 p.m. California time. I think that's right. Computers and whatnot automatically adjust to the time change, which is good. 2.8, latest earthquake here across the area on the plate boundary here just outside of India. I'm going to start the space weather activity here first. A little surprise M flare overnight, early this morning from the departing region over here off on the southwestern limb. That was kind of an upper M flare as well, a very impulsive M flare. Let's go ahead and pull up the latest flux chart here, or at least the solar flare chart. See if it's working. Looks a little slow today for some reason. M7.4. Way up there. It looks like we did see another C flare following that event as well. Doesn't look like there was any CME associated with that event, and it's coming from 3599. That's about the only sunspot region here that I've been mentioning that shows a little bit of complexity. Sure enough, we did see some larger flare activity earlier this morning. Still showing some potential here as it's currently drifting further off towards the western limb. Again, I don't think there was any CME associated with that event. We'll check that out in the day ahead or so. But really not a whole lot left in terms of sunspots out here on the visible disk. Far as anything coming up around the bend, let's see what we got here on the far side of the sun, which is going to be over here. This was put out, this looks like it was put out here a couple days ago. Here's the most recent imagery. Does show this was 3590, one of the sunspot regions there that produced those large flares, including the largest X flare here recently in this solar cycle. This is the far side. This is the current Earth-facing side. It looks like it might be a day behind, but either way, this gives us a good indicator potentially what's on the other side. I guess we'll see if these regions continue to hold together in about a week or so once they come back around the bend for another trip. That area did produce a pretty massive CME eruption there. I think it was yesterday or the day before on the far side, but not associated with any Earth-directed component. So overall threat, 80% chance for C flare, M flare 25, X flare has been elevated to about 5% because of the complexity that 3599 is harboring, and it is growing. Definitely noticeable here. These other sunspots, not so much. All right, no major auroras in the forecast, and as you can see, the aurora 30-minute forecast there, fairly minimal. Not a whole lot going on there. All right, looking out at the USGS map here. As far as earthquake activity goes, we did see a little bit of movement here filling in the quiet zones. Now, nothing big. Did see a 5.2 here across the Papua New Guinea area. Still lacking here around Solomon Islands and across the plate boundary up to about Fiji. But that includes the Vanuatu area. New Zealand did see some further activity overnight and this morning as well, with a couple more deep earthquakes underneath this area. This region definitely been showing some movement down there in the deeper regions. I believe that's associated there with that little subduction zone called the Hikurangi. And we'll continue to watch these areas. A little bit of adjustment going on here across the northwestern corner of the plate. That includes a couple fours up here. The Kuril-Kamchatka 4.3 coming in about a couple hours or so ago. 64 kilometers deep here. Kind of towards the northern end of the subduction zone. And the majority of this other earthquake activity from yesterday. So it almost looks like there's two earthquakes up there. Could just be a duplicate quake there from the USGS and the EMSC. Clustering still going on here across the Philippines southward, although today we're noticing a little further migration of movement here across the plate boundary. You can see all these earthquakes stretching up here across the Java Trench up off the coast of northern Sumatra. We'll continue to watch that because that does play a part in watching for strain, so to speak, in this area. And it just kind of looks like it wants to make its way up around the bend here. So we'll keep an eye on that area as well. The Atlantic Ocean, not a whole lot going on out there for now, but let's just double check the Iceland activity. We'll check weather here in a little bit. All right, Iceland. Ooh, goodness, what do we got going on here? 58 earthquakes. A lot of it down here across the Grindavik area, just to the west of it, looks like, around the magma intrusion dike area that we've seen here over the last couple months. But this activity is more southward. It's a little concerning. Let me see what's going on here. See if they put out an update yet from the Icelandic Met Office. This was put out here, it looks like 3 days ago, so nothing really going on here in terms of updated activity, but there's definitely some sign of earthquake activity uptick there going on across the Grindavik area. And that is not the best scenario in terms of where we want to see earthquake activity. We kind of want to see it away from town, right? Because earthquake activity could be a sign there that magma is furthering into that region. 8-hour runtime here. Let's check this out, see what we got. I believe this is the updated data. Let's go check out Grindavik region of Iceland and see what's going on here. This this one's still a little old. This one looks like it hasn't updated yet. Not for sure why these aren't updating. This is from a couple days ago. I remember that 1 hour spike there, so I'm not for sure what's going on with that. Overall, the main region here in this entire area still shows some elevated activity in terms of inflation. Let me check the Svartsengi region here. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know if they're just not updating it, or I don't know. March here looks like hard to tell even on that one. Obviously, we're still going up for long-term inflation, but I'd like to take a look at hourly, at least the last 4 hours or so, and I'm not 100% certain these things are updating. It's a little odd looking. But either way, activity still on the uptick there across the region of Grindavik. So we'll continue to watch that. See what we got for some of these earthquake depths here. That is about 4 kilometers deep, 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers there, 3 kilometers, 3.5. There's a very shallow one. So yeah, we're just going to have to watch this and see how this develops. Definitely don't want to see activity in this region. But remember, back in November, December area, there was a huge intrusion event here. And that's where we've been seeing the eruptive activity take place, mostly up here across the Hagafell and the Slingerfell region, where the last fissure activity opened up. But still, there is of concern here, that it could migrate further to the south. We've seen one of the events just outside of town, and seeing this is not the best news. But we'll continue to watch that and report back on anything that takes place out there. Let's see if we got some live views out there. Nope. Probably help here if I key this up. It's been an off day. I think the lack of 1 hour of sleep has kind of affected me. So there's a live view here. Grindavik off here on the side. This is looking towards the south here, I believe, from the north. This is the old lava fields here from the most recent eruptive activity that we've seen. Everything looks calm and clear out there for now. But underneath the ground, there's obviously something going on there in terms of magma movement. The site, live from Iceland.is, is a really cool site. They got a whole layout of webcams that one can check out if they wish. And it's pretty cool. When things get busy up there, this is the page to go to check out the webcams, live from Iceland.is. All right, and there's not a whole lot of larger scale movement taking place out here in the Atlantic Ocean, but locally up there around the Grindavik area, yes. All right, California. Looks like California lighting up out here slightly. I did see one circle up here in the red, one earthquake. Earthquake outside of Shingletown. That's up in the mountains here off of the Battle Creek Fault, it looks like. Northern Sierra Nevada mountains. One little 2.3. Pacific Northwest, one more earthquake up here, it looks like this morning, a 2.4. Right on the eastern edge here of the Seattle Fault, it looks like. This has been fairly active out here, specifically in this region. About 17 kilometers deep for that quake. Reno, Nevada. See what we got going on out here. Looks like a couple more earthquakes there from last night's update. The latest one at 1.7. By the way, I did add some Reno stations up here, or at least one is going to be right here. It looks like the Bishop Catholic High School with their seismograph station. But I added a couple other ones down here as well, just in case I see some signals there around Reno of a bigger quake. I can double check these other local seismograph stations there around the Reno area. But I did add a seismograph station there, by the way, for the live stream, because this earthquake swarm is definitely of concern. It is in a region here of, well, obviously some ancient volcanoes, but there's still some geologically active regions underneath this area, a lot of hot spots. But this swarm taking place in the area where a 6.4 struck back in 1869. So I'm just kind of watching that. Rest of California out here, a little bit of movement along the creeping segment, not a whole lot. And oh man, getting a little bit of further activity out here in my hazard zone. I call this a hazard zone here because it's just off the plate boundary, and it's a sign that the strain is high out here against the southern end and right off this bend of the San Andreas Fault. So we got to watch that. It's been somewhat active here over the last week. I'll bring up the last 7 days here, specifically in this area. You can see a little bit of swarming there over the last week. Let me check satellite view here, see what we got. Obviously the plate boundary right here in the red. It is in the there's a couple different fracture zones that branch off of the San Andreas Fault, but specifically in this zone we don't really see a lot of earthquake activity right here on the North American side of the plate boundary. So just again, that tells me that things are strained against the sleeping giant. You don't want to mess with an anthill, right? If you see an anthill, you step on it or you disturb the dirt around those fire ants, they get very mad and they come out. But yeah, you don't want to mess with this this system out here that's well overdue, right? For the big one. I've been hearing about this since I was a kid. And, each day that goes by is a day closer, but also a day of more potential in terms of built up strain. 8.1 is what they say it could kick up to, as far as the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault. That's probably about the highest magnitude, because this is not a subduction zone. It's a strike slip, and there's due to the size and whatnot, 8.1 is what the geologists claim can take place, and that's what will take place when it does release. A little bit further activity up here north as well, around the San Bernardino Mountains, but it's just this little area right here, this bend region, and swarming going on here that I'm a little curious about. Further out and about, let's see what we got up here across Yellowstone. This is from last night, a little 2.6. I don't think we've seen anything overnight, but let's just double check. Going to go over here to the Yellowstone overview. It's a site called isthisthingon.org. Been using this site for many years. I remember back in 2008 when we had that big earthquake swarm. Has it been that long? Goodness. Yeah, 2008 we had that huge earthquake swarm out here that lasted for a couple months. Caused a lot of fear-mongering on the YouTube world. I think somebody even got into trouble for trying to evacuate a large area up here, claiming that this thing was going to blow. I think that person got in trouble for that. But I'm here to report the facts and whatnot, and that's not going to happen. We would see, obviously, bigger earthquake activity, huge elevated GPS displacement as far as bulging goes across the area, but we're not seeing that. If anything, things have been going down in terms of inflation out here recently. As far as earthquake activity, as you can see here, there's that movement from last night around the Hebgen Lake Estates. A couple small, very small microquakes there at Yellowstone, fault-related, stress-related, due to faults. Fault movement, there we go. Trying to think of the word here. Texas, still rocking and rolling out here across the Pecos, Texas area, just outside of Pecos. And, we know what's out there. Quite a few oil fields and whatnot, wastewater disposal ponds. They're peppered out here across the landscape. Sometimes they're hard to see. Sometimes they're erased off the map, just due to, elements out here. But, they're out there. Quite a few oil fields and whatnot, and quite a few earthquakes in those oil fields. A little bit of activity up in Oklahoma oil fields as well. We haven't really seen any further movement. Well, actually, it looks like we did. 2.0 over here across the Great Smoky Mountains earlier this morning, about 4 o'clock. As far as the Elgin, South Carolina area, a little small, 1.3 from yesterday, but kind of watching this area, it's been showing just a little bit of movement, no swarming going on. Like we seen here a couple years ago, they had a pretty decent earthquake swarm out here, stirred up some nerves, but right now just a little small earthquake there from last night. Puerto Rico, around the Mona Seamount once again, getting a 3.3. Right on the edge of that, looks like about 10 kilometers deep. Let's see, South America. Looks like, most of these are from this morning here, it looks like. A couple 4s out there, and of course some other events, I'm sure. But some smaller events taking place, a very active region. So, daily activity there is common, such as that. Easily see 10, 20 earthquakes, though, on any given day. Hawaii. Let's run out and check out the Big Island. I'd love to jump on a plane and go out there and just enjoy some relaxation out on the Big Island, or do some a volcano studying out here. That would be cool to check this place out. One of these days I'm going to get out there. And, of course, I'm going to take you guys along with me. A little bit of activity from last night around the crater area, and a couple more this morning. Looks like a little bit of activity around the Lanali. I think I pronounced that wrong, but it's the Estates area out here where we've seen that eruptive activity quite a few years back. But that's at 2.1 kilometers below the surface. I don't think we have to worry about anything out here, but let's see what we got. We better double check some of these graphs, because it's going to be a day when I check the graphs, or don't check the graphs when we have something going on. So I just want to always double check this, even though it's been stabilized here in terms of inflation and earthquake activity recently. I still want to double check it. The UWE out here taking a pretty sharp turn upwards in terms of inflation in the last 8 hours or so, it looks like. But on a large scale, if we were to go back here and look at the last 30 days, this is just very minimal. Well, it may look like a lot here on the last 30 days, but we'd have to go back the last 2 months to see how far this has dropped. We've seen a huge displacement of magma from the summit, and we're not even anywhere near that level to what we were at before, prior to this displacement. And the magma down there is definitely, I'm sure it's still down there. The question is where it's going to be building up at. If anything, I've seen it. We watched it go from the summit area off to the southwest rift zone and followed a trail of earthquake activity literally off in this area, kind of towards the Loihi Seamount, which sits down here. They've actually renamed it. I haven't done that yet. I haven't even attempted to pronounce that name, but it's that or the Loihi Seamount, but it all depends on which map you look at, but I think that's the official name out there now. But here on the USGS map here, you got Loihi Seamount still listed up here. But anyway, that's where we watched the magma kind of go off to. We've seen obviously there was some magma movement because we were watching earthquake activity be elevated here across this region. You could pretty much draw a line where that magma moved off to. All right, but for now, things are just minimal. A handful of smaller quakes up and down on the inflation chart, but really no major changes going on out there of concern for now. So we'll watch. We haven't really seen any larger scale movement out here in this zone. A 5.2, yes, but I still think there's potential in between these gaps right here to see some further large scale activity. The deeper movement down here in New Zealand, definitely continuing, but no surface adjustment up here across the plate boundary. So we got to watch that. Deeper activity, something's building up there across the area. Mediterranean region, typical activity out here, nothing of concern. And what do we got? 3.9 coming into the South America area right now, it looks like. All right, let's see what else we got here. We got anything major going on in severe weather? I don't think so. We do have a little bit of rain coming in. A little bit. We'll be lucky if we pick up a few hundredths of an inch of rain here where I live outside of Chico. As far as thunderstorm chances go, limited up there to the Pacific Northwest. Here's a map layout here, the GFS model that shows the systems and where they're at. Of course, West Coast out here in California going to get a little bit of rain. Not much. It pretty much breaks up and just provides us with some shower activity here across Northern California. Another storm behind that, but even that looks like more of a rain shadow. You guys see that loop right in here? Right in there, there's that rain shadow loop. I do not like those, but it wasn't like that all winter, so I'm happy. We got plenty of rain here where I'm at in California. Got a lot of snow up in the mountains right now, so no drought conditions at all here in California. And the rest of March almost looks like it's going to stay dry out here across the West Coast. Massive low pressure out here. It's just there's a lot of colder air coming in. Let me show you guys here the thermodynamics. It's going to happen, it seems like after the 15th or so. Let's see, right about here. This is going to be departure from normal. Temperature anomaly based on climatology. So around the 17th to 18th, we're looking at a huge dip here of colder environment. Talking about maybe, looks like 8 to 12 degrees or so below normal. Either way, broad area of colder temperatures. That includes Texas down there. Look at that, New Mexico. Out here in California, West Coast, when this pattern is like this, it's vice versa. This could be cold over here along the West Coast and ridging across this area, but we're going to be nice and warm over here for once. And that's going to stay the pattern for a little bit. Look at that colder air deepening here over portions of the Plain States and Midwest area. Looking at maybe 15 degrees below normal for a lot of this area. And seems like it's going to stick around for a little bit. Just a mixed bag of stuff, but I see a lot more colder air out here for this portion of the country than I do warm spells. California got a high pressure right there in Northern California. Looks like it's parked right there. Going to be looks like it's going to be up there in terms of above average temperatures. So I guess I'm ready. Getting ready to start my garden, so I need a little bit warmer environment out here. And I can't wait. I'm ready to start some gardening out here. All right, folks, I think that's about it. I do have a new microphone coming here today for the channel. Been using this mic for a few years. I decided to upgrade here to a good addition to the channel. Got me I'm waiting on the audio device interface here because it takes one of those. It's a Shure SM7DB microphone. This microphone, from what I hear, is one of the best microphones you can buy. Not the one I'm talking on, but the one I got here in my hand. I'm going to be testing it out later today. Singers use it, big time YouTubers. A lot of interviews and whatnot with high, way up there people. They use these type of microphones due to the quality, and I figure, what the heck? Why not add a piece of equipment here to the channel for my updates? Because I do daily updates here, and it's good to have the best sound quality there is. You can probably hear a little bit of fan noise in the background. With this new microphone, you're not going to hear that. You're just going to hear my voice, and that's it. You're not going to hear my birds chatting. Not going to hear a car driving by. You're not going to hear me setting my coffee up here on the desk. It's going to be strictly voice and voice only to cut out the noise, and that's it. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm waiting on my audio interface device here that the microphone has to be plugged into, and then from there I can plug it into my computer. It's not a simple plug and play microphone, that's for sure. These are, yeah, a pretty nice microphone though, so we'll see how it works. I'll be testing that out throughout the day today. All right, I think that's about it. Everything looks pretty quiet here. This may be some noise across this area. I'm not for sure what it is. That's why I added a couple more Reno stations down here. If it was earthquake activity, we would be seeing it show up here across some of these other Reno seismograph stations here, but it's really not. But either way, we'll just kind of watch today, see how it plays out, and we'll catch you guys here in a little bit. Once my device comes, I'll pop on the live stream here and see if I can get some audio tests. All right, folks, we'll catch you guys back here in a little bit. Stay safe.